Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, May 5th, 2015. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. The signatures were today affixed for the 11th European Development Fund, the EDF, in which 21 million EC dollars have been allocated in support of the government's efforts to improve rural infrastructure here. Over the past 6 years, the focus on the EDF was on the health sector, which has been a successful program, according to the EU ambassador to Barbados and the Eastern Caribbean, Michael Bafford, who met with Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves earlier today. Ambassador Bafford says the majority of the monies will be used to improve road networks and at the same time contribute to the stabilization of economic activities in rural communities.
And 1.8 million EC dollars will be spent on helping to support the national authorizing officers and the team in St. Vincent, where we also have something called the Technical Cooperation Facility, which will facilitate small actions in support of the bigger program. The 11th European Development Fund, as the previous one, contains an envelope for supporting non-state actors in this country and civil society. And that's going to play an essential role in the partnership between the European Union and the government of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines. The EU is very keen to support rural roads. That has been reiterated in several national policy documents and statements by the Prime Minister. And that illustrates the high priority of the sector for the government. It's also in accordance with the priorities of the Agenda for Change of the European Union, in which rural development and territorial planning are amongst the priorities. For this sector, it's going to be of critical importance to coordinate any intervention with the complementary EU banana accompanying measures for the Agricultural Development and Modernization Program, the so-called BAM, and to coordinate also with the World Bank-funded Regional Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, and with the Caribbean Development Bank, which is funding the Basic Needs Trust Fund program.
The EU ambassador further points out that in the period of aid effectiveness and division of labor with other donors, they expect high-quality coordination from the Ministry of Works, stated by the Director of Planning, who is the National Authorizing Officer.
In addition to coordination, we expect adequate counterpart contributions in kind or otherwise from the government to cover the full cost of the intervention, adequate technical capacity at all levels, and that qualified contractors would be available to participate in tenders. It has worked in the past, so why should it not work on this occasion? Dear Prime Minister and partners in St. Vincent and the Grenadines behind you, we see, of course, a lot of complementarity between this new intervention, the BAM program I mentioned, the Bananas program, and the disaster reconstruction projects that we are also involved in. This goes beyond the economic leverage, which is typical of transport infrastructure programs.
On the issue of agriculture, Ambassador Bafford says building a competitive and sustainable 21st century industry and attracting investments is not going to be an easy task for a small island state such as St. Vincent and the Grenadines, with difficult logistics and vulnerabilities to extreme weather conditions. However, it is necessary for social and economic development.
This is in itself a fact that needs to be recognized. And that's why the strategy of the BAM program has to do with building quality value chains from agriculture inputs and agri-processing to quality control and export logistics. We need to work closer with the farming community to assist them with their demand for market certification, risk insurance, productivity through better knowledge management and crop disease control. We need to open more opportunities for private sector participation and asset management planning on the basis of market intelligence. We need to forge more domestic, regional and international commercial partnerships, we feel. We're also aware of the government's efforts towards re-establishing a suitable agricultural credit system and sustainability challenges of such schemes that you find in every country of the world with such a scheme. Indeed, the BAM program, with its 28 million EC dollars, cannot provide all the answers. But still, it's a timely opportunity of funding available to the government during a critical period for public finances. It could help to jumpstart this agricultural transformation and expand the country's production possibility frontiers. We expect that the Ministry of Agriculture in collaboration with other government departments and in close cooperation with the farming communities, of course, and the private sector, all together could help to accelerate the implementation of the BAM project.
The EU ambassador says the 11th EDF Road Program will seek to enhance investment opportunities, improve access and connectivity, reinforce logistics and reduce transport costs in rural areas. Thanking the EU for its continuing support, Prime Minister and Minister of Finance Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says the assistance of the EU, which is the principal source of grant funding to SVG, is critical to the country's developmental needs.
For instance, the particular issues which are addressed in the 11th European Development Fund, the National Indicative Program, the NIP, and the 11th European Development Fund, the B envelope for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, to deal with the post-trough emergency, the post-disaster of Christmas Eve 2013 for infrastructure rehabilitation. The sums of monies which were being granted are significant monies, because in relation to those two provisions, the NIP, the 11th EDF National Indicative Program, and the 11th EDF B envelope for the emergency assistance, it would amount to close to 39 million EC dollars. This is a significant amount of money. Of course, one would always wish it to be more. But still, $39 million cannot address our road problems or indeed the recovery after the disaster. After all, we had loss and damage amounting to $330 million BC from the disaster. And we have to be engaged in a process of rebuilding.
Describing the contribution under the 11th EDF as significant, Dr. Gonsalves says the challenge, however, is to have the money and the projects roll out in the quickest time.
That has to do with our own capacity, the capacity of the staff in the in planning, in Ministry of Works, but also the private contractors, because a contractor will win a job, win a tender, but the contractor is not managing that project efficaciously, and you have challenges. And then, of course, the procedures in the European Union, as His Excellency would tell you, are sometimes, they look as if it's a labyrinth. But those are the rules, and we have to simply work the best we can in the fastest way with those rules. And those rules are in place for transparency, for accountability, to ensure value for money. Sometimes the rules themselves can be so cumbersome that reduce the full extent of value for money, but it may help with other considerations of transparency and so on and so forth. And those of us who are maturing in this business would understand all of these things, and we have to get them and work with them.
PM Gonzalez took the opportunity to outline the components under the 11th EDF program, which include rehabilitation to feeder roads.
Among the main components here would be the realigning and upgrading of the Ginger Village Road. The chief engineer, they have already had proposal design. They put 3 options. One option has been selected as to how to proceed. The reconstruction of bridge number 2 and associated roadworks at Congo Valley. But there's a bridge currently for which a contract is signed under a different program at Congo Valley. Several other places too. Then the reconstruction of feeder roads. Some of them are like at Gaskill and Firebun and Ferguson Mountain Road and Palmis and Dandrill, Dandradi. And then the reconstruction of the Chateaubelair jetty. I want the people in Chateaubelair, they're hearing me. I have the money identified to do it. And you ask me if I'm going to do it before if I could complete it before March next year, which is when the outside of the elections. I don't expect it to be completed before then, but I'm hoping that we can start it before then. Say that this is a good package, and I want to thank the European Union. I mean, the European Union, they're having, some of their countries having economic difficulties, as you know. And we're very grateful for these grants. And we have a good partnership and we work together. We share a lot of values, social democratic values. Of course, we have differences. Friends will always have differences, but it's the way in which friends address these differences within the interests of ourselves, their own interests, our own interests, and move forward.
Opposition leader Annem Eustace believes the refusal by this country's Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, to inform Vincentians of the leasing of the Otley Hall shipping yard and marina is a demonstration of contempt for Vincentians. Speaking on the New Democratic Party's New Times Radio program on Monday, the opposition leader says a letter which was sent to various parties involved in the deal is now before Cabinet for approval. Reading from the letter, Eustace says it states that by April 30th, the agreement or terms and conditions of the lease is expected to be met for a period of 15 years.
So is now pending Cabinet approval, but it is the intent to enter into an agreement for this lease no later than April the 30th. Signed by Dr. Gonsalves in his capacity as Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, and copied to Mr. Rene Ramos, Mr. Cedric Bregan, Mr. Ziad Hamad, and Mr. Carlos Capshi. This letter was dated, I repeat, on April 2nd. And the lease is to be offered for 15 years and no later than April 30th for them to take it up. So I assume now that Otley Hall has been leased out.
Eustace says he would like to know the cost of the lease, noting that the Otley Hall facility is now free of the over $165 million debt, and any unwise decisions could put the entity back into liability. He insists that the public has the right to be aware of the terms and conditions of the lease.
How much are we going to earn? The basic fundamental question, how much are we going to earn from this lease? So you don't know any of the terms of the lease. And then this is part of the general contempt that they have for the people of this country. You proceed putting away assets in other people's hands, the same way every turn around sell the bank. What are we getting for this? And they've already have an option to go to 30 years. I don't like this at all, you know. This is a major asset that this country has. And we're going through a lot of turmoil over it. And now it's been leased for 15 years with an option to renew. And nobody has a say in that.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves calls the leasing of Otley Hall a good thing. Speaking at the press conference earlier today, Dr. Gonsalves says strides have been made to embrace changes at the facility, and this began late last year with the Director of Finance and Planning, Maurice Edwards, being installed as the new chairman.
We're in discussion in relation to leasing on certain conditions and with certain investment requirements. And that matter, Cabinet has taken certain decisions in relation to the process and certain specific things which we want to see. And the person who is directly in charge of interfacing with those investors, overseas and local, is the chairman of the board of the Otley Hall Marina Company, the Director General of Finance and Planning, Mr. Edwards.
Dr. Gonsalves further indicated that the leasing of the Otley Hall Marina would facilitate employment and increase the worth of the property. Indicated
to Mr. Boy, who was the then chairman, that I would wish to change the chairmanship. And I had a discussion here with him and Mr. Edwards, and for there to be an orderly transfer, and I informed Cabinet what I'd like to do, and Cabinet approved. So Mr. Edwards is the person who's there, and he's the one who is dealing with that matter. I think it's as advised with all the elements. I think it's, and the decisions which we have taken, I think it's a good thing. It would create more jobs there. It would create more value, and it would arrest any deterioration.
Meanwhile, at today's media conference, PM Gonsalves spoke on the recent hacking of the government's official website, purportedly by the Islamic State ISIS. The Prime Minister says though no real threat has come from the hacking of the website, the U.S. State Department has been informed of the events which have transpired. According to PM Gonsalves, he learned of the hacking on Sunday night by Permanent Secretary for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. He says all government diplomats overseas were also notified of the breach of the site.
And I spoke to Ambassador. I in fact told her that very night, informally, to tell her contact at the State Department, because I was told that the intervention the hacking had some anti-US commentary. But they would have known that it is a hack. But still, nevertheless, we have our duty, and I spoke to Ambassador King the same night and asked her to indicate to all the members of the United Nations, all the ambassadors, of this incident.
The Prime Minister assured the public that nothing was compromised by the hacker or hackers.
I've been assured that all our email and everything is intact and so on and so forth. And yesterday, the Ministry of Technology officials brought me up to date about it. The Permanent Secretary, Mr. Williams, Mr. Weeks, Mr. Bailey, who is the senior technical man there, and Gerald Thompson. And they're working with professionals, including professionals from one of the telecommunications providers. In fact, I believe they might have been working with two telecommunications providers to assist them.
The New Democratic Party, NDP, is pushing forward with plans to have a candlelight march and rally this Saturday the 9th at Sign Hill. Party leader Annie Eustace on radio on Monday says this is the time for the party's candidates to outline their plans for their constituents. Eustace says the event will begin with a candlelight march from the party's headquarters from about 6:45 p.m. to Sign Hill, where they will assemble for the rally.
We expect a very big turnout at that rally, and as I said, the concentration is going to be on what the NDP is going to do when elected. And speakers, the various speakers of the rally will have to concentrate on the particular areas to which they have responsibility in their own presentation. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's the first big outing we're having for some time. And I want to treat it with the utmost seriousness. You know, we have had a lot of ads out already. We have a candlelight march from the headquarters up to Sign Hill. We want to move off at about 6:45 to go up to Sign Hill. So things are in train, and we're working diligently now and putting the final touches to our rally.
The St. Vincent and the Grenadines Electricity Services Limited VINLEC is this month placing special emphasis on occupational safety as the company commemorates its Environmental Health and Safety Awareness Month 2015. This month of activities is being observed under the theme Practice Safe and Healthy Habits, Enjoy the Benefits. Speaking at the official ceremony to mark the month of activities, VINLEC's Communications Officer Tamara Job-Sprott says the importance of occupational health and safety at the workplace can never be overemphasized. Job-Sprott says in the electricity utility environment, employees both technical and administrative are considered high risk, and as a result, the necessary steps must be taken to ensure safety at all times.
Not only do we produce electricity, we also handle hazardous materials and chemicals. Some of our staff operate in the office environment where they too are at risk for occupational injuries and diseases. As such, VINLEC continuously promotes a culture of health and safety in the workplace. This promotion is usually intensified during our Environmental Health and Safety Awareness Month, which is commemorated in May. This year, our theme, Practice Safe and Healthy Habits, Enjoy the Benefits. And this theme was submitted by Ms. Yvonne Raggi. EHS awareness activities are intended to and have been proven to improve attitudes towards safety, increase understanding of the importance of occupational health and safety, foster a safety-minded culture, and raise awareness to instill best practices.
And Chief Executive Officer of VINLEC, Thornley Myers, challenged all 313 employees to take on board the knowledge gained during the month of activities.
The 50th edition of Environmental Health and Safety Month, and it follows from what normally happens at this period of the year. Last Tuesday, the 20th April, was celebrated as International Workers' Day for Health and Safety. And we have chosen the month of May annually. Previously it was a week. We've chosen the month of May to be our safety month. It is something we do not just for having an event. Safety for us is serious business. And as stated before, quite lucidly by Mr. Palson and others, we are in a high-risk business. And we have a responsibility to ourselves, to our staff, and the society in which we live.
Meanwhile, Chairman of VINLEC's Board of Directors, Renee Batiste, says she is extremely pleased that during the month of activities, special focus will be placed on the individual health of employees. Batiste says recent national figures have highlighted some worrying trends as it relates to the mental and overall health of Vincentians.
I viewed with interest that training would be held during the course of this month on electrical safety, office safety, health checks, mechanical safety and mental health seminar, and conflict resolution and stress management. And I was interested in the mental health and stress management because of the results of the NCD survey, which indicated that across the population, we are taking mental health for granted. We are not aware that if we were to do a survey among all of us present here, there will be indicators not only of mental health unfitness, but stress as well. In relation to conflict resolution, I believe that we are very proud of our trade union, where a significant amount of training has already been held for shop stewards. But it is always a good reminder to be able to resolve issues at the lowest level possible before it reaches the highest level.
And delivering the feature address at the event was General Manager of the Housing and Lands Development Corporation, Kenyatta Aline. Aline says health and safety in the workplace should have a much greater significance, while being promoted and presented in a form which depicts the seriousness and urgency of the practice.
There are various levels of supervisors, inspectors, compliance officers, with as many levels of certification, and we talk about OSHA and OSHA and NEBOSH and things like that. All of us here are no doubt practitioners of sensible, safe, and healthy habits. Otherwise, we've no business being here this afternoon. Almost. Almost is the reason why institutions such as VINLEC continue to promote the awareness and sensitize. For that, the entity must be a continuing proud advocate of best practices in occupational safety and health. I'm also happy to note that there are other private efforts afoot in this country to increase educational opportunities for health and safety along the lines of certification.
President of the National Workers' Movement, NWM, Noel Jackson, is calling on employees in this country to develop good work ethics. Jackson, who was speaking at the Workers' Day rally held at Solidarity Car Park on Friday, May 1st, says having the right attitude and conduct at work will ensure the development of not only the business sector, but the economy on a whole.
I want to admonish the working people of this country that the responsibility is yours to ensure that this little country continues to hold firm and to advance. Your effort at the workplace, your efforts at home, your efforts at play is important to the advancement of the country. Because whatever you do, you ought to be able to instill values in those who are around you that would assist this country and the families of this country to move forward.
President of the Teachers Union, Oswald Robinson, also called on workers to improve their skills to ensure that they are better equipped for the job. He says being a skilled and good worker enables the union to have more leverage in fighting for the rights of members.
Issues related to work ethics, and at the same time we have to defend you when you err from what is required. So as we reflect and as we deliberate, not only for today, every day that we go to work, we must be mindful of the responsibilities which are placed on our shoulders as workers. So at the end of the week, or the fortnight, or the month, you would receive your salary in good faith, having done.
Chief Medical Officer in the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment, Dr. Simon Kisa Beach, says it is important that Vincentians are aware of the signs and symptoms of diseases such as Ebola and rubella that may threaten the health and well-being of the country. She says that in order for the ministry to prevent an outbreak of these diseases, the public must stay informed and alert.
Somebody would have to be aware of the fact that they're susceptible to the illness in order for us to pick it up quickly. We in the Ministry of Health, our workers would also be able to detect that, but the person needs to be able to come to our attention, right, and also us going to their attention. So it's extremely important because this is a community effort where you where you need to be aware of what you're looking for. So for example, if you are not aware of the fact that if you travel to, say, Liberia, where there's still Ebola, and that you come back to St. Vincent and then within 21 days you develop a fever or a headache, that you might have picked up Ebola, you will not be able to give that information as quickly as you would need to a healthcare worker. So the awareness of the public, the general knowledge, to being alert is extremely important.
Parents are urged to properly educate their children about the dangers that are present in the world around them. The advice comes from coordinating teacher of the Central Leeward Secondary School Young Leaders Group, Vakisha John, who was a panelist on last Sunday's Hit Talk program. John says children fall into the traps of predators more easily when parents refuse to talk to them about certain issues. She added that the best way to protect a child is not to hide him or her from reality.
It's an addictive medium. It's not about protecting, because if you are going to protect your child from the internet and be there every time they want to go online, you have to be there every time they go out. You have to be there every time they go to school, because there are evils out there. You have to try to educate your child. You have to speak to them and let them know what is going on in the world, right? So I think we can do better as mothers, teachers, doctors, lawyers, whoever we are. We can do better in terms of feeding healthy information to students. You hear about a symposium that a young leaders group is having. You send your child, you first me over 2 minutes, this and that. Internet not for me, that's for young people. Go out there, know what it is about. You have to see what your children are.
Speaking on the use of the internet, John says it is a medium which should be used for self-advancement.
We have to run from. But when you think about it, is it really the internet that we have to blame? Because at the end of the day, it's the willpower of the individual. And whether it be the internet, newspapers, radio, televisions, or even basic conversations, people just love to embarrass others. Within us, there is good, there is bad. It's up to you which side you want to expose. And I think reading St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we have lost a sense of spirituality, and I think that is the root of the problem. And instead of bashing a certain medium by saying that the internet is causing this, or the newspapers, or the televisions, we need to get down to the meat of the matter and see that we have lost our spirituality.
Stay with us. Carnival Beat is up next. Beat this evening, we hear that telecommunications provider Lime has signed a document with the Carnival Development Corporation, increasing its role in Vincy Mass. Speaking at a press conference yesterday afternoon, Acting General Manager of Lime, Wayne Hull, says that the company remains a 100% supporter of Carnival and the celebrations of Vincentian culture.
Our support and commitment to development of culture in St. Vincent and the Grenadines remains extremely strong. And today I can announce that we have reached an agreement with the Carnival Development Corporation, which would further expand Lime contribution to Vincy Mass in 2015 and beyond. Vincy Mass, as you know, is an important festival, and we believe that this festival celebrates our past and offers great promise to our future as a country and to our tourism product, in particular the creative arts, and even further economic development in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Hull further states that Lime's participation for Vincy Mass 2015 will be present at all the major shows, and that nationals here and abroad can expect new features such as live streaming of events.
Cemented our relationship with our partners this year, our Lime artists, our Lime DJs, so that, you know, leading up to Carnival, before the main shows and before the revelers take to the streets at Carnival City of Victoria Park as well, Lime participation would be quite evident in all the major shows, most, if not all, of the rural carnivals, and some of the smaller events as we lead up to the main festival. I mean, generally these shows really set the pace for us and offer a similar superb experience, sort of consistent with the Lime brand and where we want to take the company, you know, on the path of growth and as a brand that is cemented with the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Head of Marketing and Promotions, Nikayla Williams, says that Lime is very excited to introduce their new promotions to SVG for Vinci Mass 2015.
Brand new Samsung Galaxy S6 has just launched, and Lime has offered this phone at 50% off, so everyone cannot believe it's possible, but it is true. So you can come down to Lime, and yes, you have to be a postpaid customer. They're now joining with the Adrenaline Mass Band, so we have now the Lime Adrenaline Mass Band, and the beautiful Lime girls, they are displaying some of those costumes, and guess what? For limited offer, time only, when you come in and you take up this Samsung Galaxy S6 offer at 50% off, you will also get a free costume to jump. The next offer we have, of course, everyone's not a Samsung Galaxy person. We have Androids, very affordable Androids. Just the other day we had Androids for $149, and you thought, you know what, that's the best deal in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but it's just gotten a little better. So you can get a smartphone for only $100, and that comes with free data. We have launched our super fast internet, and it's available right now, and you can come in and sign up for super fast internet from Lime. So get your Lime on the super fast internet, and guess what? You will enjoy a free super fast modem, free installation, and also free international calling package.